Well, Mondays are normally as the most boring day starting the weekday. So today we're going to actually make your Mondays exciting and fun, not to make your Mondays so boring. So today we're going to be doing 3 reviews for all of you. The first one is from Ganbare Joshi. It's been a while since I did a Ganbare review from either the Ganbare Pro or Ganbare Joshi. This one has called the Super Darius 2024 that took place recently, early this month on the 9th of March. Has very interesting matches. We even had wrestlers most in the main event from Marvelous taking on, of course, the homegrowns from from Ganbare Joshi. And then, of course, we move on with MLW with Once Upon a Time in Mexico. This one has a very interesting storylines where, of course, the war between Cesar Duran and Salina De La Renta continues on. The World Titan Federation continues to prove that they are the most dominating force ever, since now they're aiming for the MLW World Heavyweight title. So we'll see where that leads. And then, of course, finally, we continue with the semifinals of the New Japan Cup. Who will walk out as the winners to head to the finals? Will it be Evil versus Yoda, or will it be, of course, Hiroki Goto and Sanada? As you know, Sanada was last year's winner, so we will see about that. And then, of course, we move on with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what the events, the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that in the world of pro wrestling we definitely need to talk about. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos. We have various topics we talk about, such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something happened in the world of pro wrestling. We also do the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool things as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button and you'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and, of course, very cool stuff on this channel as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions are set aside. I think it's time to get the show on the road with our very first review, and this one is from Ganbare Joshi. Okay, Ganbare Joshi, it's been a while. Haven't seen one for quite some time. Normally there are times they put it on YouTube, but they haven't done that in months. But this time I got the chance to see this one. This is their much recent show that took place early this month on March 9th. I forgot the name of the location where they're at, but yes. We have some very interesting matches that took place. Now, our first one, we have Bani Oikawa taking on Kaho Kobayashi. So I was very intrigued about this match because Bonnie, as you know, was a good wrestler from Ice Ribbon, but she took some time off, and then all of a sudden, she just came back. But however, Kaho Kobayashi, we've seen her strength. She's a very powerful and strong wrestler. You would think that her strength would have been the deciding factor. It kind of did. Ugh. She applied the Kumo roll onto Oikawa just to pick up the W. So just like that, it was over. Our next match, we have a bit of an intergender tag team match. We have Riara teaming up with Shota. They take on Tyson Miyaguchi and Alex Lee from Singapore Pro Wrestling. A very interesting team. However, I kind of had this feeling that, of course, Riara, who has a least of experience wrestling, would have been the deciding factor of this match, because we know Alex Lee, she has more experience than her. That played out as well. But in the end, it was, of course, a bit of a Samoan drop by Lee to Riara, just like that. It was completely done. So, just like that. Now, our next match, we have Yoshiko Hasegawa taking on Natsu Surime. Very interesting match. I mean, Surime Natsu is a very capable wrestler, but at the same time, very predictable. I mean, she does have her whip all the time. So, Yoshiko should be keeping an eye on that. But she was able to withstand everything that she threw at her. I mean, you guys if you ever seen Natsu Surime, you know exactly what I'm talking about. She does things a bit of unorthodox, but she gets the job done no matter what. But there was a moment where she actually pulled out the whip, and she accidentally hit the ref by accident. She was aiming at at Yoshiko, but good thing she dodged it, because she saw that coming just by looking at the whip. But unfortunately, that wasn't enough, because Natsu Surimi actually applied a somewhat of a suplex onto Hasegawa, and just like that, it was over. But she did put out a very interesting promo. I don't know exactly what she said. I mean, these type of shows don't have an English commentator or English translator, or something like what we see with in Stardom, where they actually how do I say, they do subtitles of the translation for all American fans like they do in Stardom. But no, I don't know what they said, but whatever it is, hopefully it was interesting. Now, our main event, we have Yuri and Yunamaneze. As you know, they are the homegrown girls from Ganbare Joshi. They take on, of course, the top girls from Marvelous, Miyu Momono and Takumi Iroha. So I thought this match was really impressive. Now, Yuri, as you know, I often talked about her many times, and I often say this, that I do believe she's the future ace of Ganbare Joshi, and she has never failed to amaze me. But however, she has to face against two of the top aces in Marvelous, Miyu Momono and Takumi. So basically, she has to step up her game. But you would think that that would have been enough, but it wasn't. It was Miyu Momono with the diving body press that allowed her to pick up the win onto Yuri, and it was over. But however, they put out another promo. I don't know what they said, but it seems like they were saying something to Yuri, but Yunamaneze, who is her Yuri's mentor, said something back, and of course gave Yuri to say what she has to speak on her mind. I mean, Yuri has been in those positions where she has lost matches, but she always finds a way to bounce back. And not to mention, she's always proven why she's declaring herself as the Ganbare Yoshi's ace. So we'll see about that in the future. I thought the show was pretty good. I think I enjoyed it, even though I haven't seen it for quite some time. But we'll see what happens after that. So I think right now, let's move on with MLW. Okay, MLW, Major League Wrestling, with Once Upon a Time in New York City. This took place recently in last month in February on the 29th, but it wasn't broadcast until they uploaded on their YouTube channel recently on the 16th of March. Now, don't ask me why, But however, I couldn't just miss the opportunity when it did. Now it opened up with, of course, El Jefe, Cesar Duran drawing a promo, and then of course Zeta along with her bestie, Brett Ryan Gosselin, showed up. As you know, Zeta, who has one thing on her mind, and that is, of course, become the number one contender for the women's featherweight title, which is something was obvious. But however, Cesar Duran did not take this lightly with their disrespect, interrupting him for giving good news. But however, before that even happened, he set out an invitation to Salina De La Renta, and she did actually, of course, gladly accepted the invitation. So we'll see how that rolls up. But however, of course, Zeta's bestie, of course, that nincompoop Brett Ryan Gosselin shows up. He was scheduled to be in a 6-man scramble match with other people. He even disrespected the people of New York City. But however, his opponents showed up out of nowhere. Love Doug, Dylan McKay, Marcus Mathers, Ichiban, and who is it? Oh, yeah, Cannonball. So basically, this is going to be a very interesting development in this particular match because look, we have, of course, Love Dog, who's been at war with Brett. We have Dylan McKay and Marcus Mather. They are known as Wasted Youth. They are a capable tag team. You got Ichiban, who is number one, and of course, Cannonball, a very huge dude, but a member of the Calling. So that sets it up. But however, before anything else, Cannonball was attacked before the bell rung by Akira. So basically, this thing has, with Akira and of course the Calling, has been out of hand, and then Callahan and RSP showed up. But luckily, Jake Christ showed up to even the playing field. So things have been going escalated. Now you would think in these scramble matches anything could happen. However, in the end, it was of course Ryan Gosselin who actually picked up the win with the victory roll, and that was it. So just like that, it was completely over. Now our next match, we have one of the Azteca henchmen, known as Azteca 66. He faces Bad Dude Tito, but I can tell you this match was already over because the Azteca henchmen are just pawns that you know they could easily lose to. So it was no surprise for me. So moving on. Now our next match, we have AJ Francis versus Mr. Thomas. Now AJ Francis, who claims that he is the first member who built up this whole all black faction. I like to say Lotus horse crap because he doesn't know what he's talking about. But he also accuses Alex Kane of being a disgrace for losing the MLW World Heavyweight title to, of course, to Satoshi Kojima. But however, he has to face against Mr. Thomas. So he thinks that the fans need to learn the fact that Alex Kane is a failure, but people will always stand by him in the Bumaye Fight Club. Now, you would think that Mr. Thomas would get his revenge, but of course, AJ Francis, fat lard of a manager, Mr. Saint Laurent, was going to get involved. Well, he did, costing, of course, Mr. Thomas the match, allowing for AJ Francis to apply the countdown. But you know this thing with Bumaye Fight Club and, of course, the World Titan Federation is not over. Now, Mads Kruger, as you know, with the rebirth of Contra unit, they in fact has been sending a message clearly to the entire locker room of MLW. They're out for blood. They're out to show that this is their domain. Last time they put the entire MLW in Reign of Terror for 2 years. So we'll see where that leads us. Now our next match, we have the MLW Women's Featherweight Title #1 Contenders match. We have Zeta, who's being accompanied by Brett Ryan Gosselin, and here comes Demi El So being accompanied by, surprise, surprise, El Jefe, Cesar Duran. However, Salina De La Renta, who was in the commentary booth, was in shock. Now, we don't know what's the relationship between both Delmy and Caesar, but we do know that the Azteca henchman showed up, giving her an invitation, and then, of course, a key and a phone. We don't know what exactly is this about, but I'm sure Salina De La Renta is not going to take that kindly. But, of course, Cesar Duran, who has Much of the bigger influence was going to play out the card very well when one of the Azteca henchmen distracted Zeta, but Brett Ryan Gosling got distracted too, allowing for Delmy to apply of course, the Delmy driver, and just like that, it was over. However, all hells broke loose. I'm sure Salina De La Renta did not like things how were going her way. She does not want to have Jaina Janaikai to contend with both, but we will see when that day comes. Now, our next match, we have Davey Boy Smith Jr. versus Matt Riddle. You would think that this match was going to be very interesting, but of course, Davey Boy Smith represents the World Time Federation. That nincompoop, Josh Bishop, was going to get involved, but it did not do any well because Matt Riddle refuses to stay down. But at the process, he actually did a roll up onto Davey Boy Smith, and it was over right from there. So, but however, Bishop decided to retaliate towards Riddle, but Riddle gave him a knee to the face, and just like that, he is knocked the F out. Now, Court Bauer, the founder, and of course the owner of MLW, was about to do a little thing to give his announcements, but out of nowhere, Contra Unit showed up, attacked anyone, and not to mention they attacked Court Bauer. It makes no absolute sense why. Why would Contra Unit or Mats Kruger gave the barking orders to do so? Many of the wrestlers behind Court Bauer tried to defend them, but it was too much. So, I mean, I would think the only reason that they attacked Court Bauer was to get revenge for what happened almost a few years back. If you don't remember, it was, of course, Court Bauer who found a way to remove a Contra Unit from MLW. That's the reason they haven't been dominant. So maybe Court Bauer is at fault here, but we just don't know. But we'll see. Now, our next match, we have a bit of the whole thing as the war between Salina De La Renta and Cesar Duran rages on. Cesar brought Magnus, and then, of course, Salina De La Renta brought in Star Jr. So you would think that this is going to be a very continuation of the war between these two groups. So that it sets it up. But, of course, those who don't know, Magnus is the cousin of Mystico. So that would have been a fair play. But no. It was Star Jr. with an amazing double stomp, and just like that, it was out. Now, as soon as things got a little calmed down, we do see a video where Rocky Romero was taken out, and you see Cesar Duran just whistling and all this. We don't know why he did it, but don't ever try to count out Cesar Duran just yet. Now, our main event, we have the members of the World Titan Federation, Richard Holiday, Josh Bishop, and Tom Lawler, taking on Alex Kane and, of course, Cozy Max, consistent of Okamura, and, of course, the current MLW World Heavyweight Champion, Satoshi Kojima. Now, you know that, of course, the World Titan Federation are gunning for Kojima for his title, which is something that they want because they believe sports entertainment is the real dominating force of pro wrestling. But, however, Kojima's not going to give up with a fight. But it was Kojima who actually knocked out Joshua Bishop with the lariat, and just like that, him and his team won. But unfortunately, the World Titan Federation showed up to, to wipe them out. However, we had Second Gear Crew who also made their presence known, and then of course AJ Francis did. But however, you see, of course, the Calling taking on Akira, and of course Jay Chris. So things just got out of control. So we'll see what happens the next time. So until then, for now, we'll just leave things as it is and move on with our next and final review, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling, we are now almost getting to the end. We are now reviewing the semifinals of the New Japan Cup. So the obvious question is, who will walk out to hit to the finals? We have, of course, Yota Tsuji versus that despicable piece of garbage, Evil. And then, of course, we have Sanada, last year's winner, taking on a man who has won the New Japan Cup multiple times, but never successful to winning the big title. So we will see how that rolls up. But right now, let's start from the very beginning. Our first match, we have, of course, Shoma Kato and Boltin Oleg taking on TMDK, Mikey Nichols, and Zack Sabre Jr. Now, you would think that this match was going to fall in favor of TMDK. You are absolutely right. However, it was, of course, a standing headlock by Zack Sabre Jr. to Kato to pick up the win just like that. But during a post-match comment, Zack Sabre Jr. say some very interesting notations towards Boltin Oleg. I think he's maybe intrigued by what the kind of wrestler he is. He does consider him as a threat, but the obvious question is, he is willing to recruit a guy like he did with, of course, Kosei Fujita, who is no longer a young line, but they could add another member. So we'll see where that leads. Now our next match, we have just 5 guys consistent of Doiki, Yuya Uemura, and Taichi. They take on the combination of Togi Makabe, El Desperado, and Tomohiro Ishii. You would think that, of course, since El Desperado used to be friends with, of course, Taichi and Doiki, things would have been a little bit complicated between both sides. Well, normally I would say yes. But in this case, I would say that things were looking up, of course, with Uemura when he applied an armbar into Makabe, giving him and just 5 guys the win. But however, in the post-match, it was revealed that, of course, they were celebrating, of course, the birthday of Taichi. So, happy birthday, Taichi. So, hopefully you had a great time. Now, our next match, we have Ryosuke Taguchi teaming up with Tonga Loa. They take on the United Empire's Callum Newman and the Great Okan. Now, we know the Great Okan hasn't forgotten that he suffered humiliation by Tonga Loa in the first round of the New Japan Cup. But would you think that this would be a retaliation by Great Okan to right that wrong? Well, apparently that did not do any well, because it was, of course, Tonga Loa, the crossface to Newman, that allowed him to pick up the win. However, Tonga Loa apparently picked up the mic during the post-match, and he tells Great Okan, "I beat you fair and square at the New Japan Cup." So, apparently, since he beat him, and Great Okan is the current KOPW champion, he issued a challenge, and this drives the crazy. Now, during the comments, Great Okan thinks that, Tonga Loa still has some roots from the Bullet Club. He already left that behind them, because he was appreciated that Tanahashi was willing to accept them now. That's the thing about Tonga Loa. But we'll see. Name the time and the place. But Tonga Loa, they told him, you pick the stipulation you want, and I'll beat you in any way it's going to be. So that was going to be the much simpler way. Now, our next match, we have Hiroshi Tenzan teaming up with Chaos members Yoshihashi and Toru taking on Bullet Club's Gabe Kidd, Kenta, and Chase Owens. Now, as always with the Bullet Club, they like to do their own thing by applying their antics. It was, of course, Kenta whacking Tenzan with his title, and just like that, Kenta picked up the win by pinfall. However, in the post-match, they attacked Yoshihashi, insurance that neither him or Hiroki Goto will get another opportunity of the tag titles, because, as you know, they are two-time or three-time winners, something like that. Yeah, but I think they're considering Yoshihashi and Goto as a potential threat to their reign. Now, our next match, we have Shota Umino and the guys from GOD, Hikuleo, and of course El Fantasma. They take on those pieces of garbage's House of Torture, Kanemaru, Yujiro Takahashi, Jack Perry, and Ren Narita. Now, of course, we have seen this war between House of Torture doing their thing all the time. But, however, it was Shota who actually initiated the win by applying the crossface on Yorocho Takahashi. However, during the post-match, Yo got the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title back, and he ran away with it, and Kanemaru chases him. We know that Kanemaru says he wants to give it back to Yo, but we'll see how that rolls up. I think it was just too darn funny that it ended like that. Now, our next match, we have the United Empire with Francisco Akira, Jeff Cobb, and TJP taking on LIJ's Bushi, Hiromu, and Tetsuya Naito. Now, you know what the United Empire are trying to reestablish themselves ever since Will Ospreay left to go to AEW. Their ultimate goal is to bring back the IWGP World Heavyweight title where it rightfully belongs. However, they have to come across with this match. But it was Hiromu who picked up the win by applying a roll-up on Akira. Now, we know that Akira had often talked about how he wants to defeat Hiromu. Well, it looks like he got a little taste of loss from him. So, we'll see where that rolls up. Now, our next two matches are the semifinals of the New Japan Cup. We have Yota Tsuji and that piece of garbage, Evil, as always. Now, this match started way crazy than you wouldn't imagine. When the dark lights were dark, Yota Tsuji made a run for it to a tope suicide on Evil in the middle of the dark. Now, don't get me wrong. We have seen House of Torture do things like this all the time. They attack their opponents just to soften up so they don't have to fight them the long way. But however, Yota Tsuji's not going to take this likely with Evil. He knows he's predictable. He knows that he will find ways to cheat. But however, things got out of hand with, of course, with, what was it? Those morons, House of Torture, showed up. And of course, it was declared a no contest. But however, whatever Yota Tsuji said, he was not going to let this go like this. So it was a restart. But they were told that everyone, LIJ, and of course, House of Torture, has to scram. And things were like that throughout the restart. However, like always, when the ref goes out, here comes, of course, those pieces of garbages, House of Torture, again, to ensure Evil wins. But thank God LIJ showed up. Now, when things were not looking good, well, Shingo Takagi came back to get even with Evil for that loss, calling him a disgrace. Well, Shingo didn't take that lightly. And then Bushi, who accidentally missed Shingo, he finally got Evil. So, bye, Evil! And of course, the Gene Blast. Just like that, Yota Tsuji pinned him. It's over. So, it was like, thank God. Yota Tsuji was the savior. He put away Evil. All the members of House of Torture are gone. I'm sure Evil is right now kicking and screaming, crying like a little crybaby, saying that this is not right. You know, he's saying that he's the law. Well, too bad, pal. The law didn't work in your favor. So, that's pretty much it. Now, however, the atmospheres change in the main event with Hiroki Goto and Sanada. Now, let's talk about a little bit about those two. Now, as you know, Sanada was last year's winner of the New Japan Cup. The question does remain, will he do it again? Will he get 2 back-to-back wins? That's the question. We don't know. However, we have Hiroki Goto, who has won multiple times the New Japan Cup, but however, was unsuccessful to ever win the big belt. We're talking about the IWGP Heavyweight title, now the IWGP World Heavyweight title. But he's dedicating this event to his late father who died a couple of weeks ago. And I think this has shown him that he was not going to give up just yet, that he was fighting for not only for himself, but for his family. And he put up a hell of a fight. I mean, the atmosphere was a lot more different than what we saw in the previous match. But however, Goto finally pulled it off when he applied the Go to Heaven, and that's pretty much it. He goes to the semifinals against Yota Tsuji. So the question does remain now, who's going to walk out as the winners in the finals of the New Japan Cup? Well, we just got to wait and see, and I think many of you guys are excited. Now, if I was a betting man, I would say, for me, who I think would win is Hiroki Goto. I feel he deserves to win that IWGP World Heavyweight title. He hasn't won it yet, and he deserves to win it. So we'll see where that leads us from here on out. I think that's pretty much it with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I believe it's time to move on with our final thing, and that is, of course, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin with the updates with the promotions for their upcoming events. Now we have a big stack with GCW, so let's get that out of the way. Now, as you know, recently I reported that, of course, Shayna Baszler will be making her appearance at the upcoming new Bloodsport event that will take place on April 4th. However, they just recently announced who's going to be her opponent, and that opponent is none other than Masha Slamovich. So it's an interesting match to watch. Now, people are viewing this as WWE versus TNA. So this is going to be one hell of a match that I think we're definitely don't want to miss. Now, as you know, while the Philly events in GCW is happening for the collective, the GCW/JCW versus the World announced that Jordan Oliver, who represents both promotions, will face off against French's very own Aiglin Blanc. So, if you guys don't remember him, I reviewed about him in his match against Mustafa Ali when he went to France. So, yes, so you don't want to miss that one either. The How High show that will take place, of course, on the 20th of April. They just announced Mance Warner will take on Dark Sheik. Now, two major returns in the month of May. They returned to Chicago on May 25th of 2024. And then, of course, back to Columbus, Ohio on the 26th of May. So those are two events they've been announcing. They haven't announced what the name of these events are, but I'll report those as soon as it has been reported. They also announced it on in the beginning of June. Tournament of Survival 9 returns. It will begin on. It will be at June 1st, and of course, Cage of Survival 3 on June the 2nd. So those are pretty much what's going on with GCW. Now let's move on with updates with DEFY Wrestling. These are two events that are happening. Now, as you know, you may have remembered I reported a while back. DEFY Wrestling will be part of the collective, and their show that will take place will be on the 4th of April. They just announced that the women's world title will be defended. The current champion Vert Vixen defends her belt in a three-way match against not only with Trish Adora and Sawyer Rag. So that's going to be a very interesting match to follow. And then, of course, a month later on the 10th of May, they have a show called The Man of the Hour. They just announced a 60-minute Iron Man match. So it's going to feature Nick Wayne versus Joey Janela. So that's going to be one hell of a match you don't want to miss. So I'm excited for that. Now, for other things with the promotions, there's a promotion based out of Lexington, North Carolina called AML Wrestling. Their show that will begin later on this month on the 24th. They just announced that, of course, Daddy Ass Billy Gunn will be making his debut. Don't know who's going to be his opponent, but I'm looking forward to it. Now, as you know, we just did review MLW with Once Upon a Time in New York. They just announced that Max Kruger will be appearing for the War Chamber event on the 29th of this month. Now, as you know, British promotion RevPro continues to add more names for the upcoming event later on by the end of this month on the 31st of March for Revolution Rumble. They just announced that the undisputed British tag team titles will be defended. The current champions Subculture, consistent of Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster, will defend their belts against the grizzled young veterans, Zach Gibson and James Drake. So that's going to be one hell of a match to watch. Now, as you know, things are happening in WrestleMania week during Philly. Spark Joshi Puroresu of America announced for their Trailblaze event on the 7th of April, announced that Space Jesus, Billy Starks, will be participating. Now, if you guys know about this promotion in Japan called GLEAT, they just recently announced for their upcoming LIDET UWF version of 4 that will take place on the 16th of April. Now, if you guys aren't familiarized with that, with the UWF, basically it's kind of like an MMA style mixed wrestling. You should check it out. This is going to be free on YouTube. I'll let you guys know about that more. Now, as you know, AAA Lucha Libre has announced that Hijo de Vikingo vacated the Mega Championship due to his injury. They just announced for their upcoming event on April 27th in Monterrey, Mexico, with Triple Mania 32. The AAA Mega Championship will be decided between 2 wrestlers. The first one is, of course, someone you guys know, El Patron Alberto, or as you know him in WWE, Alberto Del Rio, taking on Nick Meneth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler. I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Meneth actually won this belt, but it's going to be fun. Now, finally, House of Glory, as you know, continues to add more names for Cinco de Mayo. They just announced Penta Cero Miedo will be there. So I'm excited for all of that too. So I think that's pretty much it with our promotion. So let's talk about certain interesting developments. Fightful Select just reported Salina De La Renta has been positioned as a creative director for the women's division and MLW. I mean, I have to say that's a great thing. I mean, they do need women who should take charge of the women's division. I mean, we've seen that in WWE, we've seen that in TNA. So I can't wait to see what else is going to happen. Now, Julie had some things to say about Tam, but not in a negative way, but more like, we've often talked about the rivalry between these two in Stardom. It's like a never-ending battle between them because of their own point of views and all this and that. However, Julie had this to say about Tam. When I become a grandmother, you and I can sit on the porch, laugh at each other's dentures while we making fun of each other. And even if we are reborn, I think we still be slapping each other in the face. Thank you for meeting me, Tam Nakano. So basically, it's like she's appreciating the eternal rivalry between both Tam and her. It's more like this thing between them will never end. Even if they're reborn at another incarnation of themselves, the rivalry will continue. I think it's like she's appreciating her rivalry towards her. So, I mean, many people have already been talking about that their final match this coming Wednesday will be where Julia will put her over. So we'll see where that goes from there. Now, speaking of Stardom, as you know, Aya Sakura had made her return to Stardom after being gone for 8 months since July. Apparently, she spoke about something that she kind of did. Now, she did say that I decided to be with Kozen since I was a trainee. So she confessed that that was what she wanted to do. But, however, she said that she made a mistake. I intended to audition the lead role in the movie Runaway Russell, but applied it as a trainee. So basically, she was trying to audition as Maya Iwatani for the upcoming film, The Runaway Wrestler, but it did not go exactly. But in the end, it worked out very well for her. I mean, many people have given her high praises, even when she was a trainee from the very beginning. I'm sure she'll do fine, and I can't wait to see how she and Sayaka Kurara will do well as apprentice. But to me, I don't think it matters who will be the first member to become full-time. I think they just got to prove that they earn to be with Cosmic Angels. That's possibly my opinion. So anyway, let's see. Let's move on. Oh yeah. So anyway, our last thing, of course, is Dave Meltzer. Now he had his, as you know, Dave Meltzer likes to set out his own opinions and thoughts or what he hears about certain situations, and one of them is about, of course, WWE most likely now letting wrestlers to be with GCW. But there were certain things that I find very, very disturbing about what he says, or I'm like questioning it or somewhat. But he was talking about WWE talent on their WrestleMania week shows after Shayna Baszler was announced for Bloodsport, and this is what he had to say. It's interesting because on Friday they announced Shayna Baszler was gonna be at Bloodsport. So right now it's really interesting because I think that there's gonna be AEW people on Bloodsport. So there will be AEW and WWE people on the same show. And there's people, promoters, who are been trying to get AEW people on their WrestleMania show with no success. And I know that there have gone beyond and there's going to be other companies looking to get WWE people because Bloodsport got Shayna, and it seems like maybe open to the door. Some people are able to get them because some people aren't. It's basically how it's going to go. Well, we do know that Billy Starks, who is part of the AEW roster, will be participating in in um in DDT and of course Spark. So we could, I mean, I understand that part. It's like he thinks that no other company's been having no success. I mean, we have seen wrestlers. I mean, I think he's just misinformed on that part, saying that none of the other companies were unable to get any AEW talent. I like to say I beg to differ on that. But I think right now, with Triple H in charge, I think that we're seeing a bigger picture now. Where okay, we're just gonna let our talent to be in certain independent promotions, case by case. Like, see how that rolls up. But for now, that's what we're gonna talk about. And I think that's pretty much it for now. Uh, I think it's time to call it a day. Okay, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Um, for the next one, we do know we have NXT. Um, I haven't decided yet if what I'm going to put before that. Now, I know I'm behind on GCW, I'm behind on Noah, I'm behind on All Japan Pro Wrestling and certain events, even for this month. But I'm willing to catch up as much as possible, just to get everything out of the way. But we'll see how that rolls up. But like I said before, NXT as the top of the list for the next episode. So we'll see what happens. But for right now, we'll leave things as it is at this point, and I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day.